And just like that, we're right back at it again on Fourth Down Talk, the show where every down counts and so does your opinion. Hi, my name is Albert. I'm here with my co-host, Extra Crispy Chris. Chris, how are you feeling this morning now that the week is over? We're on to the new, but how are you feeling this morning?
We are in November football. This past weekend was just hard grinding, close games, cold weather. This is when the teams separate themselves. I am very happy to see this kind of football return because now we get to find out who's for real and who's waiting on next year.
Definitely, definitely. Well, with that, we're going to dive right into one specific team. One team that had a really poor showing themselves, especially at the Cardinals. We're going to talk about New York Jets for a moment. And I just want to start off from this standpoint that the Jets have reached I want to say a dipping point, a dropping point. Let's look at it for a moment here. This team has such high hopes going into the season. The
Mhm.
trade value with the assets and the reshuffling of all the personnel, all to appease Aaron Rodgers to elevate this team to a certain level they were hoping. But a Rodgers injury changed everything. Nonetheless, they brought in Davante Adams. They fired the head coach. They went ahead and did everything they needed to try to make this team viable. But now they are sitting at the bottom. The only reason I really want to bring this up is because this was considered to be a Super Bowl contender. Now they're looking to be worse than they were when they had Zach Wilson and a number one pick in the draft. They keep going in this direction. Chris, what happened to the Jets?
I mean, the short answer, what happened to the Jets is the quarterback. It's Aaron Rodgers. This is Aaron Rodgers doing. Now, the Jets weren't in fantastic shape before he got there, but after his Achilles injury, where they essentially lost a whole season just because he was in week one, he got injured. Ever since
Yeah.
he's been back, all I've heard in this offseason leading into this season, all I heard was how good the Jets were, how much, him and Garrett Wilson were getting along, him and Brees Hall were connecting. This team was supposed to be an offensive powerhouse to go with a strong, bolstered defense. And to the Jets' credit, even as we speak right now, their defense is ranked top 10. But their offense, bottom half, not even bottom half, like in the bottom five. That's what they are. They are 26th on offense, 7th on defense. And it's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers. You got Nathaniel Hackett, who clearly we saw what happened in Denver. He could not hack it. So now he's back in New York with his buddy. They brought in Davante Adams. They fired the coach, Robert Saleh. They brought in Alan Lazard. They brought in all these people to help Aaron. And all it's done was feed his ego and made them worse.
Yeah,
Do you
you're
know?
absolutely
Do you
right.
know that? Do you know that before they fired Robert Saleh, they were ranked like third or fourth on defense? They've gotten worse since Saleh left. Worse since he
Going
left.
backwards. They're trending backwards. And you're right. Rodgers hasn't looked like a player he once was. He seems worn down, miscommunication with teammates, especially Davante Adams. What's glaring is that Adams and Rodgers had a strong rapport back in Green Bay, but now it's just all over the place. Sometimes you see Rodgers being visibly frustrated after missing a route and mistimed throws. I don't see him ever getting back to that point. But in the end, Jets went all in on Rodgers, and it's just not paying off. They changed the coach, tried out new play callers, and they even started leaning on the run game early on just to try to help him out. But the team feels dead. There's just no spark or excitement. It's as if these men are just clocking in, going through the motions, and then clocking out when the game's over.
It's very interesting because he followed a very similar path to his predecessor, Brett Favre. Brett Favre left the Packers and he went to the Jets. And then he went to the Vikings. Now, I don't see Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has enough left in the tank to go to the Vikings. I think he needs to hang it up before he gets to a point where you don't want to go out sad. Like if you go out as one of the considered greats, he still has one of the best efficiency numbers. He still has, some people say he's still one of the best people to ever throw the football. But you don't want to go out like an old horse that they need to shoot. Like you want to just retire before we have to take you out back, old man. Like you're bringing your team down. Brees Hall was considered a top upcoming running back. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner were rookies of the year at the same time. Both of them aren't doing as well as they were. Now, I don't know what happened to Sauce. That's the defense. But Garrett Wilson, he did have that one spectacular catch. But since Davante Adams has been brought in, it hasn't helped him like it should have. And this
No.
team, you can't even blow it up. You know why? Because even if Rodgers retired right now, they would have $49 million in dead money going into next year. So you can't even
Yeah.
replace him.
The cap hit is tremendous because Davante Adams, I think, is going to take $28 million off the cap. Roger is only going to get, I think, like a $2 million base salary, but he is still a $20+ million hit on the cap. So even if they can't start over, you still got to ask the question: where do you go from here? The Jets are out of the quick fix option. They tried changing coaches and play calls and all that, but the real issue might be deeper. It could be time for the Jets to do what other teams like the Detroit Lions have done. They completely turned it around from
Yeah.
the mess that they were. I'm going to say another word. They were struggling for years, but with new management and a new culture, it's got them running to the right stride. You know what? If there were an MVP award for the most disappointing team in the NFL, the Jets would win it hands down. The organization needs to ask some hard questions. Is this roster enough? Is the management approach enough? Do they have the pieces? But if they want success, I think it just may be time for a total reset, destroying from the top down. Oh,
You know,
the end of the
you know what
way.
the main difference between a team like the Jets and the Lions is, though?
What's
The
that?
Lions, they love Dan Campbell. They fight for Dan Campbell. They're not doing that on the Jets. I mean, when Rodgers was there, Saleh tried to hug him in that infamous incident. He just pushed him away. Like, no,
Yeah, he
don't hug
did.
me. Like, there's no
Yeah.
camaraderie there. Like, it's a team, it's a group of guys on a field, but it doesn't feel like a team. If your coach, if you don't care about your coach, if you don't want to fight for your quarterback, and that is a thing, the players on the field will not play as hard for certain players if they don't like them. See DJ Moore in Chicago right now. He is very unhappy with Caleb Williams. Different topic. But I don't think that the Jets want to play for Aaron anymore. The O-line was
Yeah.
bad and it hasn't gotten better. Brees Hall's not doing well. Gary Wilson's not doing well. Davante Adams is not looking good. Rodgers doesn't look good. Are we at the point, do you play Rodgers just because you have to, or do you take him out at some point? Because the season is
Well,
essentially lost. The season's over.
the season is over, but who's their backup again? It's God, the guy who got his lung pierced in the
Oh,
Chargers.
Tyrod?
Yeah, Tyrod
Uh,
Taylor. Like, do you go with Tyrod Taylor in that case, or just that's not going to really solve anything? But you make a good point about Aaron Rodgers. He's supposed to be a leader of the team, but he doesn't seem to be getting the team rallied around him in any regard. You talk about the whole pushing away Robert Saleh. I It's one of these things where it's like you got to write out the rest of the season of what you have, and they're going to have another year with these two, Adams and Rogers.
mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you just kind of like, hey, Rogers, thanks for the help, but I think we may go a different direction? Do you try to bring in another quarterback and hope to God that Rogers mentors him?
He's not going to mentor anybody. Like, that's just out of the question. He's not going to do it.
And,
But for Adams, as far as I'm concerned, like if I'm a team that is wide receiver needy, I'm making the phone call because I don't think Adams is going to turn it down if specific teams call. It would have to be certain teams. It can't just be any team. Like if the Jaguars call him, they're not answering that. They're not taking that call. But if a team that could be on the verge of contendership, or maybe they're good, but they just need that extra piece, they could call for Davante Adams for a 1-year rental. Why not?
yeah, I can see that. I can see something like, well, the Bills already got their receiver, but I can see,
Yeah.
dude, all right, I can see something like the Steelers, maybe, even though they got Mike Williams. Talking about a team on the
Yeah.
verge.
Mike
Texans.
Williams. He can run that red line, Rodgers, because he caught the game winning touchdown for the Steelers.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know. It's
Most
a real
disappointing.
disappointment. It's a real disappointment, especially when you see what they were supposed to be. But I don't know.
But
I'm not a Jets fan, but I just
hmm,
kind of expected better than this.
but for disappointing teams, based on how we felt when they were coming into the season, are the Jets more of a disappointment or are the Cowboys more of a disappointment?
Well, just that's a hell of a question. A
Yeah.
part of me still wants to say it's the Jets because of the expectations, the
Yeah.
adjustments. They at least tried. I feel like the Cowboys, I don't know what happened this year. They didn't do a lot of movement on the free agency market during the
Not at
offseason. They
all.
didn't do a lot of movement during the trade deadline during the middle of the season. They opted to just kind of go with what they have, but they don't have anything to go with, at least when you look at it in the grand scheme of it. The bigger disappointment is the Jets because at least they tried and they keep trying, but it's just
Yeah.
a shit show.
I mean,
But the
that's the
Cowboys
thing.
are disappointed. Cowboys just a disappointment because they're the Cowboys.
I mean, the Cowboys didn't do anything and they got worse. So it's like, okay, well, if you did something, maybe you could have gotten better. The Jets are trying to do things and they are actively just getting worse.
Right? You're trying to go forward, yet you keep going in reverse. So you have the stick shift in the right plank. Like, what are you doing right now? Never seen a
Like,
team take 4 steps forward and then 0 steps of progress.
if I was a Jets fan, I would be very highly concerned that Garrett Wilson and Sauce are not staying past their rookie contracts. They're just not. Why
Mm,
would they? When
yeah, yeah, you're right.
another team would love to have a defender like Sauce. Put him on in any secondary in the league, and I guarantee they get better.
You would think so, but that's the thing that's disappointing about this team already. They already have a strong defense. You mentioned Brees Hall. They didn't have a good lineup of receivers, and they even had depth at the offensive line, considering how much they need to protect Rodgers.
Yeah.
Everything on paper suggests they should be a dominant team, even at least a playoff contender. Some experts even had them in the Super Bowl, as I mentioned, but in reality, they're not only far from that, they don't even seem like they began the process of that if you look at the record and the games.
No, their division's already locked up. The Bills, this is their division. They have 8 wins. Everyone else in the division has 3 for the Dolphins and 2 for everyone else, or 3 for the Patriots too, I think. But
Yeah.
either way, it's a 5-game gap, and I don't think the Bills are losing that one.
No,
It's
it isn't. And that, you talk about the gap. That's another thing I do kind of want to transition to in that regard about how it just seems like some teams are far and away better. You look at the AFC East, yeah, you got the Dolphins, they look good, but they're not competing against the Bills,
yeah,
Patriots, Jets, call them trash. You look at the AFC South, Texans far and away the better team in a bad division. On top of that, when you look at the grand scheme of it, you have the AFC North, you like the Steelers, I like the Ravens, however, I don't really like the much of the Browns, and I don't even know what the Bengals are doing. They're not even playing up to par. Don't
on
even get me
offense they are.
started. Well, the offense looks good, but the defense don't look great. Joe Burrow numbers look great, but even then, they are not doing well as they should. And don't even get me started in the NFC, where I feel like it's just the Niners, the
Man.
Eagles, and the Detroit Lions. Every other team is bad. Here's the question I have. Has the league gotten worse with its gameplay, or is just these teams that much better than everyone else?
Oh, I don't think it's the league just overall getting better. I do think it is the league because it has shifted over the past few years or so. It's shifted to be offensive. Like the play calls are getting more offensive. The penalties that have changed are all leaning towards the offense. They want more points scored. They want teams to be highlight reels. They want that dynamic, eye-catching plays or these close games that pull people in. And you don't do that with defensive battles. People don't like them. They don't like 10-3 games. They want 28-24, 35-30. They want those kind of games. Now, the thing is, of all the teams you mentioned, the one thing in common that I noticed for all of the great teams, and I'm going to name a few that I think qualify for that. Um, you have the Lions, you have the Chiefs, you have the Niners, you have the Eagles to an extent. I don't like Nick Sirianni, but we'll get to that. Like all of these teams, the one thing they have in common is they have a Hall of Fame caliber something. It doesn't matter if it's a quarterback, a coach, defense, something is Hall of Fame caliber or all pro level that other teams don't have. The Chiefs, obviously, they have 3 of the biggest pieces you could have. They have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid. That is a very hard combination to stop.
All right, that's a pretty good lineup.
The Lions and the Niners both have a team that have skill position players that could be all pros. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk's hurt. We'll give him that. Christian McCaffrey's back. Brock Purdy even. Jared Goff is playing out of his mind. These other teams don't do that. Like what? Who are the stars on the Cowboys?
Oh, Zeke, Dak, Michael Parsons, and CeeDee Lamb.
That's it. Zeke is not a star. All right, he's not a star right now.
That's fair.
They don't have a team. They have no run game whatsoever, and that is the other facet. The great teams are good in at least 2 out of 3 phases of the game. You're either good on offense, defense, or special teams. Now, you might suffer on one, but if you have at least 2 down, you're at least safer than the other teams. The Lions, they can kill you on offense, they can kill you on special teams, and their defense isn't too shabby. It's not great, but it's not too shabby. The Niners, they got you on offense, they can get you on defense. That special teams is more than a little shaky. The Chiefs are good at all 3, and I don't understand how that works when they don't play that well. But when they need it, they get the special teams play, they get the defense, and they get the offense going. The bad teams, I mean, what of the bad teams has those features that I said that it's just not getting it together. Because the Jets have a really good defense, they suck on special teams, and they suck on offense.
But they have players though, and I guess that's the thing. Here's how I look at it. I look at the league. There are 11 teams, 11 teams with only 3 wins this year. You look at the other side of it. There's only six
Wow.
teams with 4 wins this year. Let me just kind of paint a picture here. Despite a few close games like the 49ers and the Buccaneers, Kansas City pulling out the win with a blocked field goal, the majority of the games were either blowouts or even lackluster. Checking in on the games from the 1 o'clock to the 4 o'clock slot, it's like half of them were just completely one-sided. I give you just a quick rundown of what those games were because I just closed that window. But nonetheless, you had the Patriots. That was one-sided. You had the Jags, even though the Jags and the Vikings won, but that just wasn't even a good game anyway. It was just not. You had oh god, what's the it wasn't
You
Trevor
got,
Lawrence. You got a guy Mac Jones. They had Mac
oh
Jones
yeah,
starting out there.
that was
That
a
wasn't good.
disappointing game on both sides.
All right. And the quality was awful. It just went on, and it seems like it got worse at game after game. At this point,
Eagles
it's not
Cowboys,
early. All right,
Eagles
it's not
Cowboys
early in
messed
the
up.
season anymore. It's
No,
kind of late in the season, as you mentioned, and we're approaching Thanksgiving, where there aren't just how can I put it? These aren't just slow starting teams. All right, it's just teams who are just bad. There is no second gear to run into. These are who they are. And if half of your league can't even produce more than 4 wins at this point,
mm.
I don't know. I feel like the quality of gameplay is just awful.
I wonder if there's any correlation, and I know two teams that already break this, so I wonder if there's any correlation between the teams that are bad and injuries. But as I say that, I immediately thought of the Chiefs, who don't have their wide receivers, they don't have their running backs, they don't have their backup tight ends, they don't have three of their top five wide receivers. They're all hurt, and they're undefeated. It's
Yeah, look at the Detroit Lions. They had a little bit of injuries, and they're rolling well too. So
yeah,
next man up. I don't know what's up with these offensive struggles. It comes to a shift in philosophy, I guess. Maybe teams
coaching.
should run the ball more often. Well, you talk about coaching, but the Saints fired their coach this morning.
They did, yeah.
Not the Saints. No,
No.
who is it?
Oh,
Chicago.
oh,
Chicago fired their coach
Eberflus.
this morning.
Eberflus is out.
Yeah,
Yeah, they thought that was
he's
gonna
out.
happen. Yeah.
The Saints fired their coach. They granted they
Listen,
got a win against the Falcons, but it wasn't a great game.
I need to add the Chicago Bears to one of my most disappointing teams this year. And I know Caleb's a rookie. I get that. But talk about the hype that was behind him coming into the league. Like there were certain analysts that were sure he was going to be just an all-out superstar from day one. And they started
Mm.
out shaky, and then they got good, like right in the middle between weeks 1 and 10, like between weeks 4 and 7, they got good. But ever since that Hail Mary, they've gotten worse. They've looked awful. They lost that game on the Hail Mary. Then they lost to the Cardinals 29-9. Now they've lost to the Patriots 19-3. They have gone 21 drives without scoring a touchdown.
What does that even come on? 21 drives without scoring a touchdown when he was already starting off. I don't know. Is that coaching? Because I'll tell you one thing. I can't say it's athleticism. This is
Mm,
probably the most athletic set of players we will ever run into him. But despite the amazing athleticism in today's player, the game still feels cluttered and it's excessive amount of gadget plays and this overcomplicated systems. We hear sometimes even how some offenses dumb down the offense so that way players can't get it too. Too many players in motion, too many trick plays. Almost like teams are trying too hard to be innovative, but at the end of the
yeah.
day, bogging down the defense or overcomplicating it. Yet you look at the most successful teams of the season, they're often just stick to the classics, run heavy. Running the ball is a really good thing to do, especially if you're trying to maintain the clock. It seems like some
Oh
teams don't
yeah.
want to do that. They're still just trying to go out for the fireworks display.
Listen, I don't care how good your defense is. If you have a solid run game, those linemen are going to wear down. As
Yeah.
long as that game goes on, those big 300-pound dudes aren't going to be able to just keep going for 60 straight minutes. They can't. They will tire out. That run game is going to get better and better. And if you don't have a team that can do that, Dallas, you're not going to be successful.
I still can't believe they didn't go after Derrick Henry in the offseason because that could have been a real benefit for them. Congratulations to the Ravens for
The
taking advantage
Ravens
of
they're giving
obvious
him
pickup.
$7 million. $7 million. Jerry, you couldn't give Derrick Henry $7 million. That's what you're
That's not
telling me.
stupidity. That's just penny pinching to some degree. But no, running the football is still, I think, a good method to go with. But, like I mentioned, some teams don't want to do that. We rarely see teams known for rushing the ball get recognition. But outside
Look,
of the Ravens,
look at the
that's it.
successful teams right now. Ravens, run the ball. Chiefs, run the
Run
ball.
the ball.
Cardinals, you know what they do? They run the ball.
Run the ball. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. But I don't know. I feel like today's game isn't as great. I mentioned before in another podcast how, well, earlier in our series, how I feel like the quarterback play isn't as good as it could be in this degree. We have a lot of rookies coming in. Just talk about Caleb Williams. He
Yeah,
started off nice, and now he depleted. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. I mean, outside of
you can
Jaden
go
Daniels
back.
and
Yeah.
Bo Nix, I don't know how many other good players are really. And even then, like a CJ Stroud. Let me see what Bo Nix looks like next year. Is Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels going to be that rookie offensive force that we see this year, come next
Yeah.
year?
Look at Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones,
Yeah.
uh, Zach Wilson. Like these guys were all first round picks and they just haven't lived up to it. It's like, are they good enough? Were they really good in college or were they just on really good college teams?
Or is college just simplified? And when you get to the pros, it doesn't translate.
I mean, Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl and he didn't win, but he faced Patrick Mahomes. As a 49ers fan, I felt that pain twice now, but he's gone. But none of the other rookies have gone besides Brock Purdy. And
He
he
did
was
go to the
Mr.
Super Bowl,
Irrelevant.
but Brock, that's true. Brock Purdy was someone who wasn't drafted, just irrelevant. I hate that term because I feel like it's a stigma for him, considering how well he played. He's actually a shining beacon in this whole horrible quarterbacks. But
Yeah.
you talk about the Jalen Hurts Super Bowl. How did Jalen Hurts play in that Super Bowl?
He actually did really well in that game. That was a very good statistical game for him.
Okay, I was curious about that. All right.
They put
I
up
look. You got me
35
a few diamonds
points.
up.
It's not like they
Yeah.
didn't do anything in the Super Bowl. Like if they had gone into the Super Bowl and gotten blown out or something, that would have been different. But it was a 3-point game.
All right. I'm not just taking anything away from him, but I do think in the back of my mind that if Brock Purdy and the 49ers were healthy, they probably wouldn't have been in that Super Bowl anyway. But that's
Yeah,
neither here nor
that's a different argument. I don't want to bring that old hatred back up.
there. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to get into it. But hey, in the comments, tell us what you think. Do you think the quality of gameplay in the NFL has gone weakened, or that some teams are just that much better? Or, do you think it's just a non-issue? That this is just a game and maybe the rule changes are what's adding to it? I don't know. Do you think rule changes, referee discrepancies, and things of that nature are also attributing to these win-loss records? I don't know.
Are the
Let us know.
refs, how long are we going to continue to have issues with referees before everything gets automated? That's what I want to know.
That is a good question. The way AI is advancing, I don't know. Look, if I feel like if there's any sport that's going to go with the robots, no, it's not going to be baseball. Baseball's too old-fashioned. It's probably going to be basketball. The NBA may start moving to more automation because they like
There
to be
were
innovative.
some analysts that spoke a while back, this is over the summer, that said the reason the NFL isn't trying to do that fast is because a lot of the referees and officials are offended that you would go to something automated rather than trust their calls on the field. But the human error factor is always there. Like it's always going to be there.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I don't know what they're talking about, especially when what was it, the Vikings game where the face mask happened right in front of the referee,
Two
didn't call it.
referees.
Yeah, two referees didn't call it. Like you talk about the trust factor, dude. A lot of you will look at the penalty, not call anything. I don't even get me started way back to the no catch situation. Like, what was that? Was that an interception?
The
Was that a
replacement
touchdown?
refs?
Yeah, like granted, they're replacement refs, but it was still just blatant. You don't want to go that. Okay, what about the pass interference that happened with the Saints? I know they haven't gotten over it,
Yeah. No,
but
they
talk
have
about
not.
blatant. Come on, so I don't know. I
It's
do think
calls.
there might need to be a mixture between automation and humans, but it can't. I don't know. Human
Look,
refs.
look, I'm already not a big fan of the fact that whatever is called on the field takes precedence. So if they called it an incompletion and they look at the footage and it could be, but it couldn't be, it's going to be an incompletion because that's what it was called. But if it was called a catch, then all of a sudden it's a catch. See, I don't like that.
Yeah, they got to challenge the ruling on the field. The ruling on the field is an incompletion. We got to see if it's an incompletion. It's not enough to overturn it, although it could be overturned. It's just not enough. I don't like that whole little. No, that just doesn't seem legitimate to me. It does feel like in that point in time, the ref could be like, "Yeah, I need that under to kind of go through." So no, that
Uh,
wasn't a catch. I need the under.
that is hinting towards a different type of referee issue.
Yeah, yeah. We're not talking
I'm not
about
gonna. I'm
that.
not. I
No,
didn't suggest that, but I
not
did not
yet.
suggest it either. All right.
Maybe not yet. We'll get to that another time. But right now, we're going to get into the top 10 of the week. The week is over. So you
Week
know
is
what that
over.
means? Extra crispy. Chris, evaluation, looking through the teams, picking out the top 10. Tell us, who is in the top 10 this week?
The top 10, there was some movement there because there was some games that just kind of left me scratching my head. And even this number 10 team, I'm watching you guys, but you're starting to slip. And that's the Minnesota Vikings. And some people might say that's too low, but I'm watching this team. I'm not particularly impressed with how they won against the Jaguars. A win is a win. I'll give you that. But Sam Darnold threw 3 picks, and this is coming off 2 back-to-back losses. And I feel like if they weren't playing the Jaguars, they would have lost.
Mm,
So you're on number 10, and if you start losing again, you're off the list. I don't care how good your record is. You're going to make me not believe in
that's fair. All right, all
you.
right. Harsh words for the Vikings, but what's going on with number 9?
Number 9 is a new entry on the list
Uh-oh.
as the LA Chargers. I am putting them on the list. Jim Harbaugh football is back. Now, it's still in California. It's not where I want it to be, but hey, I'll take it. The Chargers deserve something good happen to them. They're 6-3. They look like they're playing solid football, and Justin Herbert has not thrown an interception, like, I don't think in the last 5 or 6 games.
Let me just
Hmm.
double check and see. But no, he's been pretty consistent
Yeah.
overall. The team has been pretty consistent too. Like
Yeah,
how
he
they play
hasn't
football.
he hasn't been like unloading like we used to see him do before. Like he hasn't thrown a ton of the deep ball, but that's not how Jim Harbaugh plays. Jim Harbaugh throws when he needs to, he runs the ball and he plays hard-nosed defense. And as long as they have those 3 things going for them, they can make some noise. Now, will they be able to beat some of the other teams on the list? I'm not sure. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Just really quick to that. Yeah, Justin Herbert has thrown 2 interceptions, 4 interceptions for the year. Has not thrown an interception at least in the last 4 games.
4 games. Yeah. That's pretty solid considering how iffy that offense was when Staley was the coach.
Yeah, especially the big deals. All right. We got at number 8.
Number 8 is the Packers. They did drop slightly. They were on a bye week, but I can't take them any further down. They're 6-3. We will wait to see what they look like coming out of the bye week. But right now, they're taking up the number 8 spot.
All right, all right. Who's taking up number 7 in that case?
Number 7 did fall a little bit. They did lose. They are the one team on the list that's coming off of a loss, and that's the Washington Commanders. It was a 1 point loss. If it was more of a blowout, I might have dropped them a little bit further. I'm having trouble putting full faith into them just because Jaden Daniels is a rookie and because of their head coach. I know they're doing well right now, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do this in the playoffs. That's the thing. And incidentally, they play another team on this list this week, so these spots could flip flop.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead and just say it. I don't like Dan Quinn.
I don't like Dan Quinn. All right, I don't. I don't believe in him. He didn't do
Oh,
much. He didn't win as much as he should have when he was in Seattle. He didn't win the Super Bowl when he was in Atlanta, even though everybody puts that on Shanahan. Quinn was still the head coach,
man.
which means he
Yeah.
could have controlled the defense too. Different topic. I don't believe in Dan Quinn. He
All
was
right,
also
that's
on the
fair.
Cowboys somewhat recently too, and yeah, no.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, number 6. Who's rounding out this to get and make the top 5?
Number 6 is the team that the Commanders play this week. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. Now,
Ooh,
they are coming off of a shellacking of the Cowboys. But again, the Cowboys are bad. So while it was impressive, it wasn't as impressive as it could have been. Like, okay, you destroyed a bad team that didn't even have Dak Prescott playing. So, no. Do it again. They beat the Commanders this week, they'll go into the top 5. But right now, I can't put them there. Nick Sirianni is going to make me not put them there.
all right, well, that's fair. So just to kind of recap, you got the Vikings at 10, put the Chargers at 9, Packers at 8, the Commanders at 7, and the Eagles at 6, which only leaves us the 5, the Furious 5. All right, let's round it out. Who's rounding out? Who's starting this list at 5?
Well, not a lot of love for the NFC in my top 5, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So number 5 the Pittsburgh Steelers have jumped into my top 5 conversation. Russell Wilson, I don't know if he just feels rejuvenated or if this is just what happens when you let Mr. Unlimited do what he needs to do, all right? A 1-point gritty win over a surging Commanders team. It's not a bad look. He's undefeated since he's been the starter. Mike Williams, George Pickens, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, these guys are all elevating under Russell. It's like I said before, where a team wants to play a little bit more. I think the team likes Justin Fields, but I think the offense loves playing under Russell. I think this combination of Russell Wilson's veteran mindset and Mike Tomlin and his defense, they could start to make a lot of noise by the time we hit the playoffs. And they could be a team that I tell you, I don't want to see. I don't really want to play against them in the playoffs. Right?
All right. Well, I just want to jump in a little bit deeper with this team because I have to ask, seeing how Russell Wilson has done a complete turnaround, is this an indictment on Sean Payton and even Hackett to some degree that they couldn't get Wilson to perform to this caliber?
I think so. I don't think Sean Payton liked him. And I think that was kind of obvious from the beginning. He was having issues. They were having issues in camp, getting on the same page. Sean Payton either doesn't want to deal with a vet or just didn't like Russell Wilson because he's doing certainly okay with Bo Nix. Bo Nix he's new, he's young, he's moldable. He can turn Bo Nix into the guy he wants to be. I don't think Russell wanted to do that. I think Russ, as a veteran, was going to play how he wants to play and adjust to your playbook, but he's not changing his whole play style for you.
No, he really shouldn't. But I mean, even then, when Sean Payton's supposed to be this offensive guru, you figure he could still take whatever deficiencies he saw in Russell Wilson and make him the type of player that he's supposed to be. But that offense looked horrible. I won't forget that the game they had against the Miami Dolphins where they got crushed and ran out of the building.
Yeah.
That was what
70
Sean
points.
Payton was. You're right, 70 points. Granted, I understand the defense, they completely shat the bed as well, but you couldn't really do anything on the offensive side to keep the score going. I kind of feel like if you had Russell and the Steelers in that situation, a lot different story. I don't know.
I mean, the Broncos defense isn't a bad defense. That's the thing. I think they're still in the top 10 for defense. They were last week, and I don't think that would have changed based off of a 2-point loss to the Chiefs. But no, they were top 10 in defense. Pat Surtain is the real deal. That defense is legitimate. They just needed an offense to round it out. Hackett was never going to make that work. I am still 100% convinced Hackett was only there to lure Aaron Rodgers there. And once it didn't happen, they just got rid of him as soon as they.
I don't know. That statement kind of flooded. Maybe the Broncos dodged the bullet. I don't know. They still got shot in the leg, but we'll see. All right. Moving on. Who was the number 14 on your list here?
Now, I had some reservations at number 4 because I almost put the Steelers there, and I was like, let me back off them a little bit. Now, they're coming off of a win, but it wasn't a super duper convincing win, but they're dominating their division. Number 4 is the Buffalo Bills. They're 8-2. The Colts game, they did win, but it was the 10-point win that just had interceptions flying all over the field on both sides. Now, Joe Flacco, I'm not concerned about him throwing picks. He's an old man who's just chucking the ball to keep his career going. But Josh, that was uncharacteristic for you this season. He had only had, 1 or 2 picks going into that game, and he threw at least 2.
Yeah. I was just kind of giving him praise, the week prior. And then all of a sudden it made me look like a fool because he went out there and started being the old Josh Allen, just throwing the ball to any and everyone who's willing to catch it. Unfortunately, Josh got the defensive players. Quit throwing to them.
Apparently, this was just interception weekend because they were just all over the place. Darnold had 3, Flacco had 3, Allen had 2, Goff had 5.
5. I tell you, man, that was just balls for everyone. It was just everyone catch a pass. It don't matter this week. I ain't like it.
I don't like it. I like the Bills, but I don't like them enough to beat any of the 3 teams above them right now.
Well, there it is. In that case, let's go ahead and give a moment for the holy trinity of the top 3 in the NFL. Let's see who we got. Who we starting at number 3?
Number 3, which coming off of a 1-point win as the Baltimore Ravens. Second best team in the AFC. Personally, I think they could be the best team in the AFC if they bolstered that defense, but the other one's undefeated, so it is what it is. But the Baltimore Ravens, when they are on, I mean, who do you stop? You have Lamar Jackson running, you can't catch him. You probably could catch Derrick Henry, but even if you could, he would just run you over anyways.
Knock the hell out of you. Gonna stand
Zay
on the Texans.
Flowers. Zay Flowers is good when he's on. Mark Andrews has finally come back to life because for the first like 4 or 5 games, I was wondering where he went. But he's back now. So they have solid pass catchers. They have a really strong offense. They have the defensive pieces, but the coordination is not as good as it was last year because their coordinator is now the coach of Seattle. And the Ravens defense has suffered, and I don't think they can be a Super Bowl caliber team with this defense. I think they need to bolster up just a little bit more. I don't know how they're going to do it. That's between the coordinator and the head coach. If that defense can improve their run game, the run stoppage, they could be much more dangerous.
Yeah, it looks like they're ranked 25th as far as defenses go. So that is
Yeah.
definitely something that they need to fix. You at least want to be in the top third, or not even top third, at least in the
At
top
least top
half.
half, yeah.
Yeah,
At least
that's
be
the
middle of the
thing.
road.
Usually, I did say the Ravens. That's been my pick, but history does show that if you want to be a Super Bowl real contending team, you got to have a top 10 defense at least. Ask Aaron Rodgers. The only time he
Yeah.
won the Super Bowl is when he had a top 10 defense. But
And that's
yeah, good point. Mhm.
the only other thing I would say about that is, granted, their defense is bad, but of all the teams in the NFL I don't want to get into a shootout with, it's anything led by Lamar. I don't want to go back and forth with him all day because that's just going to be touchdown, 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 and they're just going to outscore you. That's what they did to the
Yeah.
Bengals, 35 on the Bengals. That's the thing. If you have a bad defense, you have to be able to put up points, and that's what their offense does.
You're right about that. They have 4 games this year scoring 41 points against the Bengals. Another 41.
Broncos,
Yeah, that's true.
and they had
And
a top 10 defense, and they scored
the
41 on them.
Buccaneers.
Mm,
Buccaneers they scored 41 on them as well. That's what they do. They do score points. They don't. Only time they scored anything less than 21 was against the Chiefs. But that was week one.
that was
That was
week
the start
one,
of the
yeah.
season.
And they
Yeah.
would have gotten that if that foot was just in bounds. They would have won that game.
I tell you, the Ravens do look good on offense. So you can make a case that with the defensive deficiencies that they show, their offense is enough to keep them in a game. You really do just have to outscore them because you're not going to really beat them.
No.
Well, yeah.
But that's the thing. Can the Ravens, in their current state, go into Arrowhead and win? Because that's what they're going to have to do unless someone knocks the Chiefs off in the playoffs. They're going to have to go into Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game and hope they can pull it out. Now, last year, they were at home during the championship game and they lost to this team, to the Chiefs. So
No,
I
you're
don't
right.
know. We will see if they get that far.
All
Second
right.
best team in
Well,
the AFC, though.
that's the second best team in the NFC, but the third best team in football, according to your list, because right now, who is officially the second best team in the NFL?
Jared Goff threw 5 picks and won. The Detroit Lions, they have to be number 2. They're 8-1. If you throw
Ooh.
5 interceptions and you win the game, you deserve to be in the top. You deserve it. Like, it's just, you can't be stopped at that point. If the whole thing was Jared Goff had been really efficient. He had not thrown a lot of picks. He had thrown a lot of completions. He had not thrown a super ton of yards, and people were saying, okay, he's being really efficient, but can he overcome something if something bad happens? Well, 3 picks. Now, granted, one was off a Hail Mary. I think another one was tipped, but still, an interception goes down as an interception. And
Yeah.
the Texans, they just couldn't capitalize on it. That's the other side of the story that I don't think is getting talked about as much. Like D'Amico Ryans, I'm glad that you were able to put the pressure on the Lions to get Goff kind of uncomfortable, but you picked him off 5 times. You didn't do anything with it. Like that's a different struggle. That takes me back to the Packers Seahawks NFC title game. They picked off Russ 4 times. And they didn't do anything with it. If you're going to do it and you can't capitalize on it, you're never going to win games.
No.
It's a bad look. The Lions are one of those teams where everything just seems to be going right. Goff is playing well. All of their skill position players are playing well. They love their coach. They have a fantastic offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. Their defense, even without Aiden Hutchinson, is still putting in work. They brought in Zadarius Smith. They are poised to make a run. The thing is, and people might disagree with me on this, but is it bad that it's just the fact that they're the Lions that's holding me back? It's the
Yeah.
Lions. Like, my entire life, childhood to adulthood, I have never seen them be successful. Ever. So, I, it's hard for me to put faith in them. I know they were in the NFC title game, and it was against my team. But to be fair, they had that game won, and then they lost it. You were up 24-7 and you lost. Just like the Texans were just up 23-7 and they lost. They're the best team in the NFC right now, but they're not the best team in football. And I think we all know who the best team in football.
Well, I guess we can all agree. Well, I understand where you're going with the list, but real quick, Lions, I understand where you're coming from with them because that stigma of them being the Lions is hard
Oh
to erase.
man.
I saw Barry Sanders and I saw what he did and didn't do. I witnessed Megatron and Matt Stafford, and I saw what he did and didn't do. So
Yeah.
to see them have this type of success does feel a bit odd, but you're kind of waiting for that moment to be like, it's the Lions. That's what they do. Here it is. I don't know. They may shock the world. They may win the championship. But in order to win the championship, looks like you got to go through one team. The road to the Super Bowl may go through Motown, but the
Hmm.
title still stands in a single kingdom. Who is that number one team?
I mean, when you shut down a team on offense, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 42 times. They only scored 16 points. They didn't really stop the Broncos early on defense. But what happened when they needed it the most? Special teams. I don't know the numbers. I believe you were talking to me earlier about them. I don't know the odds on blocked
Yeah.
kicks, but it just
Oh,
seems almost impossible that this happened. Like everyone was on the internet. I was watching my game. Of course, I was watching the Niners Buccaneers. Um, but everyone on Twitter was like, "Oh, well, Broncos are going to win. All right, cool. Broncos are finally going to get it done." And then I got the notification, final Chiefs 16, Broncos 14. I was like, "What happened?" Blocked field goal, not a missed field goal. Because if they had missed it, that's luck. If you block it, I almost want to say that's not luck. That's just devil magic. That's
exactly. You know, I believe the stat is in the course of the NFL, there was like 108 kicks that were determined for game winnings or game time drives. This block kick was the first time it happened in a game winning kick situation in the NFL.
can't keep
Of
getting
course,
away with this.
no, you say it like it's a travesty. You know what? I hear what you're saying. The Chiefs, we talked about it last week. It seems like they're somewhat not necessarily on autopilot, but still not even in their final form.
No, no.
They're winning these games either by luck, by grit. Either way, it's a W. I don't know. How do you stop the Chiefs? Every time you think you can stop them, you can't. On top of that, okay, so these games are close. You mentioned it before. Even if you have a lead, they still find a way to come back and win. You could be up. They'll come back. They could be down. They'll come back. They could be up. They'll probably win. They could be down.
Listen,
Look, it's what do you do?
I've seen this team come back from 24 nothing. I've seen this team win with 13 seconds on the clock. They just went down the field and scored like it was nothing. I've seen this team I've seen this team walk off the field with my quarterback in front of them in the Super Bowl, and they just went down the field and scored. Like if you leave Patrick Mahomes time, he's going to win. It doesn't matter how much time it is. I really don't care at this point. If you can do it in under 15 seconds, I don't understand how you can stop. The only way you can stop him, you would think, would be a last second field goal, but clearly that didn't work either. The only way the Chiefs lose is if the Chiefs lose on their own. They have to beat themselves.
I got to ask a question. You got the most popular man as a quarterback. Everyone loves Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelsey's dating the most popular woman in the world right now, who's a seamstress. Are the Chiefs America's team? I hate to throw
Mm,
that word around, but look, they kind of check a lot of the boxes as far as winning, popularity, commercialism, household names, even from the head coach.
yeah, about to say,
Are they
yeah.
America's team?
Yeah, you got Patrick Mahomes. He's in multiple nationwide commercials. Andy Reid, one of the most beloved coaches in the league, arguably the best coach in the league. Um, you got Travis Kelsey, like you said, he's in TV. He's a face everybody knows. Everybody loves the Kelsey brothers and their podcast. They all over the media. And of course, he's dating the biggest pop star in the world in Taylor Swift. I mean, how can they not be? They're two-time defending champions, which means even if you didn't watch football and you only watched the Super Bowl, you've seen them win 2 times in a row, back to back. They're America's team because it's definitely not the Cowboys. It's 100% not the Patriots. It's not my
no,
team. I mean,
no,
the only
that's
other
right.
America's darling is the Lions, but America's team is the Chiefs.
That's how I feel. Because I mean, I don't think the Chiefs has as much. You talk about the Cowboys. I don't think the
Yeah,
Chiefs are polarizing as the Cowboys. I don't. The Patriots. I don't. There weren't too many people cheering for the Patriots outside of New England.
yeah,
I do feel like even in the midst of the Chiefs' dominance, they are still a team that most of the nation kind of roots behind. It will only be the Detroit Lions that will probably get more cheers over the Chiefs if they face them. But
yeah,
you take almost any other NFC team, I believe, like in a poll, most of the nation would cheer for the Chiefs to win. They like the Chiefs.
yeah. Because I will say, speaking on my own fan base for a second, I realize that our fan base. We're one of the top five most hated fan bases because
The
there's a reason.
49ers?
Yeah, the 49ers fan base is more than a little
Yeah.
obnoxious. We tend to start fights. We tend to get a little high on our horses there for a team that, yes, we've been in four of the past like six NFC title games, but we have zero Super Bowls to show for it. And every
Mm.
time we make it, we just run into him. It's just Patrick. Like, can we play someone else? Can I just have a different AFC team play against us in the Super Bowl? I just, even if it's Lamar, like, I don't know how much of a chance we'd have to beat him, but I'd rather see
But
someone
this,
else at this point.
nah, I tell you right now, if I was a 49ers fan, give me the Bills. If there's any team in the AFC I want to fight, I think it's the Bills. I feel like that would be the best shot. I feel like any other team would be kind of a grit. You already talked about the 49ers don't have great luck against a running quarterback. The
Yeah.
Ravens matchup will be interesting, but anytime I've seen the Ravens play the Niners, it was never that much of a battle. It just looked so one-sided.
I mean, the
Although it would be a nice matchup. Yeah.
2019, we had a good game, but that was Lamar's like, what, first full year as a starter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
first, because he
But
came in
the
after Flacco.
But they still beat us. They still beat the team. They still beat the Niners. And it's, as far as the Chiefs and the 49ers go, I don't personally think Shanahan can outcoach Reed. I don't think he can.
Hmm.
I think he's had every opportunity. He's had 5 games against Andy Reid, and he has not won any of them, regular season or Super Bowls.
Okay. Wow.
Now,
Well, there it is, folks. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
unless unless the Super Bowl is another rematch, we're not going to see Kansas City until 2026. That's the next time they have them on their opponents list. But it doesn't matter. The Niners have played the Chiefs in Kansas City during the regular season. That was the game that Garoppolo got hurt. We lost. We played them in the Super Bowl 2019. That was a loss. 2022 in San Francisco. That was a loss. 2023 in the Super Bowl, that was a loss, and now this season alone in San Francisco again, another loss. Like, it's, what do you
No,
do?
I get it. No, it's a hard thing to kind of overcome, especially when it happens that many times. You figure, you got to be due based on the odds, but sometimes the coach just has your number. Mm.
Sometimes, eventually you could get that one because remember the 49ers had a 6 game winning streak over the Rams at one point, but then in 2021 they lost the NFC title game to them.
That was the third meetup, though. So
That
is
was true.
that because
Third meetup that
yeah, they
season,
met up
yeah.
exactly. So I don't know. It's a fascinating ordeal and how it can always change, especially when you see a team that many times in the regular season onto the postseason. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But that is your top 10 list. I do have to pick it a little bit. So I have to ask this one question. The Lions, they did the multiple turnovers. They squeaked by on the win. The Chiefs, they rested on their laurels and they squeaked by with a win. Which win was more impressive, the Lions or the Chiefs?
I would say the Chiefs win is more impressive because the defense was harder.
Okay.
Because if the Texans had scored at maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns off of 5 interceptions, then it would have been a harder battle. But they were only ever up 23-7, and the Lions kept scoring, and the Texans didn't. They just kind of stopped scoring after a certain point, which leads me to wonder: is that an issue with the Texans' offense, or is that an issue with the Lions' defense just stepping it up when they need to? Because I'm
Hmm.
leaning towards the former, not the latter.
No, I get you. I get you. The Lions defense is something to kind of think about. That defense is really good. That offense seems to be a little bit better. But you know what? Hey, that's the top 10 list. If you people like it, go ahead and agree with a comment. Tell us what you think about it. If you don't, give us what you think of the top 10 teams. I know we had some people on TikTok really stating that even though the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC, Steelers can possibly get that upset.
I mean, the Steelers look really good. And as a Niner fan, it is hard to pour praise on the Russell Wilson so much, but he's not in my division anymore. So
It ain't as much. Yeah, he's been in your division a number of years now. He's been an AFC quarterback for a while.
Yes, he beat us when he was a Bronco, though. He beat the team. He beat the 49ers as a Bronco.
So things never change, I guess.
But
I
no,
don't
they look
know.
good. They look really good. They have a solid offense. They have I have solid O line. They have TJ Watt back there on defense. That dude is a monster. They could be really good. Now, we have to see that consistency hold for them to still be considered as a top contender. Now, I know their fans are probably a little hyped up right now, and I understand that, but you do play Kansas City not too far in the future here. Christmas Day is Steelers Chiefs, and that might be a really, really interesting game to watch.
Well, I have marked on my calendar because that's the team. Yeah, that's the game I do want to see. I started liking the Steelers after I think about the second or third start of Russell Wilson to see what they could do, plus their pickups. I'm not a Steelers fan at all. In fact, there is a little bit of me that don't like the Steelers, but objectively speaking, they are good this year. Can't deny it. Too much respect for Mike Tomlin and what he's been able to accomplish. I'm seeing what he's doing with his team now, and even though they sometimes take it to the mud themselves, because they had to grit that win out against the Washington Commanders,
They
they
did,
still
yeah.
win. And I can't dismiss them yet until they lose key important games.
Has Russell Wilson ever beaten Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, that's a good question. I could try to actually. You know what? Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. Because you would only play them. Well, the Broncos during this time with the Broncos, they never won, right?
They beat him once. That is right. It was last
Okay.
year that he did beat him as a Bronco. That was one game, but it was also a weird game because Patrick Mahomes was listed on the injury report as illness. I think he was like coming off of the flu or something. And it was the
Interesting.
one time Patrick has lost to the Broncos since he started.
It looks like that is the only time too. That was the only time that Russell Wilson, but of course, played the Seahawks, might not have faced him that often.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time. Russell Wilson record against the Chiefs is 1-3. I take that back. His record as a starter is 1-2 in 2018. Wilson and the Seahawks beat the Chiefs 38-31 in the first game against Mahomes. That was back in
Oh, okay.
2018. So
Yeah,
I
that
was
was a while
like,
back. That was Patrick's
yeah,
first year as a starter, I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which
What
okay, I mean, it still counts,
he
but
throw 50 touchdowns that year? I think he did.
yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he really lit it up.
That's why this play now
Oh,
is so weird. Like I've seen this man throw 50 touchdowns. I've seen him make these dynamic sidearm falling, behind the back passes, all these weird, just absolutely insane plays. So to see him play like this and have him be undefeated just completely screws with my head.
no, it's different. I tell you, I don't know what to make of it, but we'll see how it plays out. But that pretty much wraps up most of today's show. Unless there's any other notes you want to close out on today, Chris. Anything else you want to leave the people thinking about?
Just outside of the top 10, I have a couple of teams that are just kind
Yeah.
of lurking. I could not put them in the top 10. But spoiler alert, they're both in the NFC, right? And they're both in the West. So the
Mm.
Cardinals, it is time to start actually paying attention to them. They're on a 4-game win streak. They were at 2-4. People thought they were going to be dead in the water. And now healthy Kyler Murray is here. And Kyler Murray, when he's healthy, is a bit of a problem during the regular season. Let's cap that off there.
Yeah, because
They're,
that playoff, you only have one playoff appearance though,
yeah.
so we'll see.
But they're 6-4. They have beaten teams back to back. Now, granted, the Bears and the Jets aren't the best of teams, but to put on a dominant showing like that, 29-9 followed by 31-6, that's impressive for a team that defense wasn't supposed to be very good. So if they can keep this up, they're going to creep into the top 10. Now, not sure who they're playing this week because I don't pay that much attention to my
Oh,
competition.
I'll give you a real quick answer to that. The Cardinals will be going against the mighty, mighty bye week.
Oh, they're off this week. Okay.
Yeah, they're
They,
gonna have a rest.
all right, that's
But
good.
they'll come back.
Okay. It's good for the
Yeah,
Niners
they will
anyway.
be. They will be coming back to play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, and the game after that will be in Minnesota against the Vikings.
And bad look for Seattle because they have to play the Niners this week and the Cardinals right after. It's not a good look for them.
Yeah, straight into the bye week. All right.
Who is on? We are going into week 11. What's the Thursday?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
Thursday night. Commanders, Eagles. Short week for both of them. And it's in
Ooh,
Philly.
division matchup.
For
Ooh, it's gonna
division
be
lead
interesting.
too, because the Eagles are currently on top And if they win, they kind of give themselves that little cushion between them and the Commanders. But if the Commanders win, then you got that flip flop. It's going to
Mm,
be interesting. That might be the
it is
game
going to
to
be
watch
interesting.
this week. Outside
That one
of
and another one. What's the other
Ravens
one I saw?
Steelers. Oh boy.
That's it,
Yeah.
because that's another one that's going to be for the division. Because right now the Steelers are on top of the division. Mathematically, they are. But the Ravens, they can easily take that spot, which I'm pretty sure that's what they want to do to help solidify their slot into the playoffs. Oh, that's going to be a great one.
That one. So we got three solid games. We got Commanders Eagles, we have Ravens Steelers, and we have Chiefs and Bills, which is
Oh,
also going to be a good game.
are you going to dismiss the clash in Texas? I'm talking about this Tuesday in Texas. Actually, it's Monday in Texas. No, it's right here. There you are. See? No, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys versus the Houston Texans.
Let me tell you something
Battle of
right now.
Texas.
Let me tell you something. I'm talking directly to D'Amico Ryans, CJ Stroud, and the Houston Texans. If you lose this game, all right, you have no reason to lose. The Cowboys are a bad team. They can't run the ball. They can't stop you on defense unless Trayvon gets an interception, because with him, Trayvon Diggs is either interception or touchdown. Like, there's no in between. If you guys
Mm.
lose this game, you deserve to not be in any top 10. I don't care if you win the division. I don't. You're not a good team. All right. You can't lose to the Cowboys. You cannot lose to the Dak Prescott less Cooper Rush / Trey Lance led Cowboys. You can't do that. All right.
You know what they say? If you got two quarterbacks, you have zero quarterbacks. Because right now, it's not really certain who their quarterbacks is. I'm looking at the schedule lineup. I want to go with the upset special early. I don't even know if you want to call it an upset because this team just recently lost this last Monday. I'm betting the Patriots beat the Rams this week.
Patriots over Rams.
Yeah, don't ask me what it is. I don't know what I saw this past week with the Patriots. I feel like they're going to upset teams going forward,
They do
and
still
I
have a
think they're going
solid
to come through.
defense.
Yeah,
Patriots defense is still solid. Their offense is getting there. That's the thing. We are watching Drake
yeah.
May develop. It still goes back to my argument. He should have started from day one, but I get it. Um, Drake May he's getting his feet wet. The Rams don't look very good. They have Cooper Kupp, and they have Puka Nakua. They have Kyron Williams, but the Dolphins last night, they just stymied them.
Yeah,
Shut them
kind of
down.
just. Yeah, it's not like the Dolphins have the greatest defense either, but they
You
really
know,
did just kind of take care of business in that regard.
it was weird because the Dolphins now have Odell Beckham and Jalen Ramsey, who not only played for the Rams, but they won a Super Bowl with that Rams team. Very strange.
Man, it is very strange. I almost forgot those guys were even on that team. Mind you, the Dolphins really have like the 17th ranked defense. The Patriots have the 13th ranked defense so far. I don't know, man, but you're right about that offense. That offense is bottom barrel. We're talking like one of the worst in the league. But that defense, that could be a
That's
real
that's
spoiler for some people.
it's really going to come down to, can they pressure Matt Stafford, because that O line is kind of pieced together. They had a couple guys coming back, but it's still not their standard starting O line. And last night the Dolphins were just blitzing right through it. They just were right up in Matt Stafford's face. And if the Patriots can do that, they could win this game, because Matt Stafford, when he gets uncomfortable, he does not perform well.
He's not as best as he should be.
He's not
But
going to
we'll
run.
see.
That's
Hey,
why.
oh, dude can't run. He's a statue. Can't move like he used to. Awesome. Well, we might dive deeper into these games later into this week, but that pretty much wraps it up for this week's version of Fourth Down Talk. Hey, we do hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe. You can find us on TikTok, eventually on Instagram, definitely other places in the interwebs. Chris, do you want to go ahead and drop in your social medias just in case?
And you can follow me on TikTok as well. I also follow Fourth Down Talk. My my TikTok name is Thick Gamer Daddy 85 with two C's. Thank you. I am working on my own projects there, but yes, we will be on Instagram soon. And then any clips that you don't catch here, you will find there.
Excellent. All right. Well, that wraps it up for me, AVN. That wraps it up for my boy Chris X Crispy. We hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you on the next down. Have a good night, everyone.
Well, guess we're
Oh,
infinite running. We are running.
my biggest concern is I hope it was recording. Hang on a second.
It said the recording thing was on.
Yeah, it does. Okay, good. I'm glad it says that. Mine says it's showing, and it's showing at an hour, but it's also showing starting. What the hell is it starting? Okay, it does say it's recording. Recording in
Okay.
progress. I want to stop it though.
Now I'm looking at, oh, you know who my upset of the week is?
Who's that?
You might not believe it, but I just feel something in the air.
Who's
Titans
that?
over Vikings.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair.
Why the two of you?